All right, good evening. The time is 5:01 p.m. It is March 25th, 2024. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Argyle ISD Board of Trustees. At this time, we will determine if a quorum is present.
Leona McDade, present.
Josh Westrom, present.
Richie Effenbaugh, present.
Leanne Ortho, present.
Matt Slayton, present.
Craig Hawksworth, present.
And I, Sam Sladen, present. We do have a quorum established. The time is 5:02 p.m. We will adjourn to executive session. Thank you. All right. Good evening. The time's 6:09 p.m. We have returned from executive session. This time we have Mrs. Haynes and all of our friends from Argyle South Elementary are going to do our pledges this evening. So we're ready.
Okay, they're gonna come up and introduce themselves, and then we'll line up for the pledges.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Jessie. I love that our school is very ambitious and that we are all very kind and how we are all willing to help everybody.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Collier Koch. I'm in 3rd grade, and my favorite part about the school is seeing all my teachers.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Keller. I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite part about school is that the teachers are really nice.
Hello, my name is Prady, and I'm in 4th grade. My favorite part about the school are the teachers.
Hi, my name's Kinsum, and I'm in 2nd grade, and my favorite thing about school is math.
You can do it.
Hey!
My favorite thing is art.
All right.
My name is Dean.
All right, thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
My name is Zane, and my favorite part about school is recess.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Thank y'all. So whenever y'all are ready. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
We appreciate that.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, this time we'll have a brief moment of silence. We're just letting all our friends get out the door real quick. All right, thank you. Okay, now we're going to move into our public forum. And so, like I've done the past couple of meetings, I'm going to do my little reading first, and then I will call those up who have signed up to speak. All right, so we'll now move to public forum for tonight's portion of the meeting. Please note that board policy requires speakers to sign up in person before the meeting is called to order. During this portion of the meeting, board members will listen to comments, but as the designated spokesperson, only the president may respond to the speaker if needed and refer concerns to the appropriate administrator. Speakers can comment on agenda items, but trustees will not be able to discuss the items until they are before the board during the meeting. Board Policy BED Local provides the presiding officer the ability to adjust the time allotted per speaker for effective meeting management. Pursuant to that policy, an individual's comments to the board at tonight's meeting shall not exceed 5 minutes. The presiding officer may reduce the allotted time for each individual to speak to no less than 1 minute for effective meeting management. Speakers are not allowed to receive time from other individuals. Tonight, each speaker will receive 5 minutes. Specific complaints about individual district personnel are to be processed through the district's grievance policy as set out in district policies DBA, FNG, and/or GF. Speakers are not permitted to refer to individual students or employees by name during the public comment period. Additionally, if you have a pending grievance that may come before the board in a level 3 hearing, please refrain from addressing the topic of your grievance except through the grievance process. All right, there we go. We are good to go. All right, our first speaker tonight, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing, Kaushik.
Okay.
All right. Your 5 minutes will begin whenever you start speaking. Well,
You ain't Tom on his phone.
okay, I have a backup secretary if I need one.
No, I'm not. You mean him? Oh,
Like if Rick, I've got this.
there
I've
we
got
go.
this. So we'll let you know when you have 1 minute left, okay? So whenever you start, your time will begin.
Thank you. Hey everyone, good evening. Good evening to the board. This is my first meeting. So my daughter attends at Argyle West Elementary, and my only item that I had on my agenda is my daughter came one day and she said, like last week, couple of weeks back, saying that there is some teachers have been replanned for the next upcoming year in terms of I think specifically to technology. They're not going to have a technology teacher at their class. Currently, they have a technology teacher who comes and have a specific period for that, but that's not going to be there for the next year. So when I did look around the internet and find what's going on, and then I got to know about the budget cuts that's happening around across the state. So I just like to understand what kind of impacts are we going to have due to these budget cuts, specifically to the Argyle AISD district. Like what kind of impacts? Like this is one example that my kid brought in, like not having technology. Being a technology consultant, I know how important is technology for the kids when they are the early exposure. So I like to understand more about what kind of impacts are we going to have due to these budget cuts. So that's the only item that I had.
All right. If you could share your email address with Mr. Heron here, we'll
Okay.
make sure one of the administrators reaches out to you and get you some clarity and point you to some areas where we can get you the information that you're looking at.
Okay,
All
sure.
right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thank you.
All right. Acela Spiegelberg. All right.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. To start?
It's yours.
Okay, so during the last budget special meeting, I had brought up some concerns about what I had heard regarding outside political forces trying to get rid of Scholastic Book Fair, or at least impact the way that Scholastic Book Fair runs. And although I haven't heard anything specific to Argyle, I am aware that in other districts, they have slowly gotten rid of the Scholastic program. And I had asked for an open records request regarding how much we make, our individual schools make during those. And during the last ones, all of our elementary schools made close to $5,000. I think one of them made over $5,000. There is tremendous support from the parents. There is support from the teachers. The librarians love the program. This is something that we need to make sure that we are not allowing outside forces to interfere with this money that is such a big boon, especially at a time where, as this gentleman mentioned, we are having a lot of cuts. And our librarians and our counselors are going to be the hardest hit. So any way that they can receive that money should be encouraged and should be helped. And one of the things that I plan on doing is I know that our librarians are going to lose their aides as part of some of our cuts. And I know that you guys are trying to do your best to find them other jobs within the district. But I plan on asking the librarians that I currently know and work with that when they do have their time to do them, because I know the elementary schools do them twice a year, that I am going to try to set aside as much time as possible to be able to help them through that process, because there is a lot of setup and takedown, and it's much easier when they have an aide, as well as volunteers. But this is something that I know that amount of money is something that no librarian would want to say no to. And the only thing that could possibly discourage that is if they don't have enough volunteers to help them now that they're losing their aides. So I want to encourage all of you to make an effort to reach out to your librarians at your kids' schools, ask them how they need help, ask them if they need help with doing these fundraisers, which is the biggest one that they do all year, especially now because we are facing these cuts. And if I hear anything to the contrary, where our librarians are not having these scholastic book fairs, that is something that I'm going to come directly to each one of you about, because it's something that should not be happening at all. And I would not want to see it ended at this district, especially since Argyle doesn't have their own library. So for some cases, these are the only libraries that kids in our district have access to. And our librarians do a fantastic job of making sure that the right books are there for our children, that are age appropriate, and this kind of money really shouldn't be lost. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our last speaker tonight, Rich McDowell.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I was told the other day someone did not know me. I guess losing a few pounds makes me invisible. In all seriousness, I am Rich McDowell, and I'm running for place 4 of the Argyle School Board, and I wanted to share what I believe in. I believe in a team of 8 concept, and the Board of Trustees should operate as a highly functioning group that governs the district and supports the managerial role of the superintendent. I believe in the Argyle ISD 10-year strategic growth plan and how it is designed to provide the best student experience in our district that covers over 35 square miles and within 5 municipalities. I believe in the fact that we need advancement in Texas public school finance, from Austin to Argyle ISD. This is not one group's problem to solve, and it will take a collective effort to ensure students and staff have the financial resources they need to be successful. Thank you again for your time this evening. Rich McDowell, Argyle Place 4, shaping the future together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public forum for this evening. This time, I will entertain a motion to approve action items discussed in closed session.
Can I say a few words?
You go right ahead. Never mind. Dr. Carpenter taking over.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Dr.
All right,
Carpenter.
thank you. So I would like to take just a few moments to talk about, I believe it's 6B. Consider recommendation for the hire, yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about 6B, and then you can go back to your motion there, or to your comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So as you're aware, we've had the opportunity in the last few weeks to put together a search process for the replacement of Mr. King, who is retiring after many years in Argyle ISD as the principal at Argyle High School, and he's done a phenomenal job. And we are certainly going to miss him in this district, but that gave us a new challenge, and that was to find a replacement for him. So very, very proud of the staff that came together, provided input. We had a group of teachers that worked together to go through all of the applications. We had a great deal of interest, as you can imagine. Argyle ISD in and of itself is a destination district, but Argyle High School is a pillar across the state, and many, many people are very interested in that position. So we went through the process. We had some amazing applicants. I can say that we had a really hard decision to make. Really want to call on our cabinet team that helped work through that. We had Coach Rogers in there because he works instrumental with that person as well. And it's my pleasure and privilege tonight to announce Shannon Knowles as the new principal of Argyle High School. Shannon comes to us, our recommendation to you, but she comes from Flower Mound. Sorry. She, if so chosen, she will come to us from. That's right. I know, but I want to make sure she gets her we do her due diligence to recognize her, and I know you've heard this from me. But Shannon's currently the associate principal at Flower Mound High School and lives in the district. Had kids go through the district, so she's very invested in this district for many, many reasons. So we're very excited to bring Shannon on board. She brings a wealth of experience, over 25 years of experience total, the last 15, I believe, in Louisville in various leadership positions. And she's coming to us from a district of growth, a community that has multiple high schools. Flower Mound itself has 2. And so we're going to rely on her a lot as we prepare to implement our 10-year strategic growth plan and going to 2 high schools. So at this time, I would recommend on behalf of the district, Shannon Knowles as the new principal.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve items discussed in closed session.
So moved.
All right. Mr. Hawksworth, I'm going to give you the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. McDade with the second. Any further discussion? Anything?
I'm good.
Okay.
My time limit's up. The clock went off.
Okay. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Ms.
Miss
Knowles.
Knowles, come on up. We're gonna give you the microphone, and then we have a gift for you.
Okay.
So we'll give you the microphone.
Well, I want to thank the board.
Start the timer.
What?
Start the timer.
Oh, I don't need a timer. Trust me. The board, but as you know, the teachers who picked. The teachers had to pick my resume out of that stack, and I want to thank them, and I want to thank the cabinet. The interview process was. I felt like I was having work conversations with people I already worked with. So it's a very comforting thing for me. I'm looking forward to serving the community I've lived in for so long and loved. I told the committee, this is a dream job. I've been waiting for this job to come open. So I just want to say thank you. And that's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we roll you up there? Just be the one appropriate time.
Did you have people follow you? You're here to support Ms. Knowles. Please take a picture. You need a picture with everybody. It's a big moment. I know. Congratulations. All right, Florida family, come on up. Thank y'all for coming.
This is her whole admin team.
Oh, that's amazing. Hey, I guess we need someone to take it. Yes, we'll take good care of her. Here you go. Let's celebrate. Okay, bye.
Oh my God, that was bold.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's why I said we'll take good care of it.
That speaks volumes.
Yes.
Wow.
I think that's
That's indicative of the kind of person we're looking for, right?
speaks a lot to Mrs. Knowles. So.
That's right.
Because they're here. Right, okay.
That's awesome.
I think. All right.
That's great.
Go on to consent agenda. Could pull up donations, please. All right. Okay, the March 2024 donations from AEBC number 26, $3,115.13. Girls cross country and track uniforms. Blackbaud Giving Fund, $200. Argyle West Elementary teacher incentives. Argyle South Elementary parent group / anonymous, $408 for Omniken ball to be used for field day and PE class. And Hilltop PTA, $3,750 for progress learning. Total March donations, $7,473.13. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on anything on the consent agenda?
I do.
Mr. Deffenbaugh?
On the change local policy for the budget, not the budget amendment, but for
CH.
raising the cost to vote on 50,000 to 100,000. Seems like just last year we raised it to 50. But my question is, I'm fine with that, but is there any verbiage in there that dictates that it has to be under the departmental budget?
I do not believe it'll say under the departmental budget, no. Not on that policy. It does have to be within the.
Yeah, I think you mean within.
Within.
Yes.
Within.
He doesn't
Yes.
mean not,
Yes.
like in the
Right.
department,
Right.
he means within.
I don't believe it'll call out the department in that policy though, but it has to be within
The
budget.
budget,
Yeah.
yes.
So they can't approve something that pushes them out of budget.
But in your case, it's talking about the total budget, so you can have it, you
Total
can
budget
squeeze
by-
the balloon different ways.
Total budget by function.
By
So
function.
Anything
Okay.
outside of a function has to
Okay.
come back to the board
Yeah,
for-
that's a good question.
for an amendment.
Right.
Okay.
I have one question, the Hilltop PTA donation. Can you explain to me what that is? Anybody know what that is?
I can tell you a little bit more about it. So Progress Learning is an online program. It's used for intervention a lot. It sets the student on a learning path to help fill gaps or accelerate the student.
Okay. So is that consistent with our other 3 campuses?
Yes, it is.
So they've each bought them individually or had them purchased either in
Or
their own
campus
budget
budgets
or been
or-
given to them?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Some of them don't use Progress Learning, some use a similar tool, but yes.
Okay.
Those are all things we'll continue to be evaluating as we're aligning.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, that was my concern. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that we're kind of on the same page
Yes,
across
yes,
the
we
board.
did discuss it this year before any purchases were made.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions on the consent items? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Matthew Slayton, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Deffenbaugh, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, now we'll get into construction reports.
Yes. Update on JRE.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight we have Pogue in the audience. If there's any questions that they need to respond to, they're here for another reason tonight for our action item on the middle school. But so tonight on Jane Russman update, making very good progress. Currently continuing with our MEP installations. They tend to go for a very long time because they're some of the first guys in and some of the last trades out. So they continue to be working and making progress. We're continuing to put up the exterior brick and stone. It's probably, I'd say, about 3/4 complete all the way around the building, including the courtyard. We have a few windows remaining to be installed, and then all the storefront doors, which they've started arriving on site, so we'll start seeing those doors go in. And then we're continuing with roofing. We just got the okay on one of our tests on the storm shelter roof to be able to start installing that roof. They do a pull test, so they basically adhere some roof to that concrete that we pour, and then they test it to make sure it's got enough adhesion that it's, you know, in a tornado situation, it's not going to come flying off that roof with the wind. So we just passed that test, and so they're starting to roof the gymnasium now. Additional items, we're installing all the tile backer and drywall. They have started doing tape bed and texture. So as you walk through there, you can walk through one area. It's got first coat of paint on there, and by the time you get to the other end of the building, they're just now doing the tape and bed on that sheetrock. So we have kind of the full range going on depending where you are in the building. We've got a lot of tile up on the walls already. Some of the floors are done in some of the bathrooms. So outside here on the right, you can see this a picture inside the courtyard. So there you can see some of the brick, and they had one section there left to finish, which I believe will be finished completely this week. They'll be out of that courtyard So they'll be moving in to start the underground drainage in the courtyard, then we can do the concrete and the turf in there. Outside of that, on the outside of the building, we are pouring sidewalks, forming and pouring those. We've got the outdoor play court, basketball court near the playground to pour. Landscape and irrigation has started. We've got trees on site, so we'll start planting those very soon. It's a good time of the year, which doesn't seem to happen ever on construction projects for planting. Take advantage of our spring rains. Courtyard drainage I already mentioned, and then of course grading and concrete in the for the playground and the turf inside the courtyard. Here's some other photos of work happening around the site. On the left, this is what we call Area C on the plans. It's the collaboration area between the two classroom wings. So the masonry has progressed up to the corner. You see there we have the boom lift in the photo, and they're fixing to come around that corner and finish that. On the right, this is a photo looking north on the front of the school. So you can see, if you look along the curb line along the driveway, you can see they've got the sidewalk formed up. It's actually already been poured. And here's our side-by-side that we've been doing for the last few updates. Well, actually, this isn't the side-by-side yet. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. So here are just some aerial photos of Jane Russman. Overall shot on the left, where you can see very good progress has been made. And on the right, you can see we've got rooftops sitting on the roof. Those went up 2 weeks ago. It took about 2.5 hours by helicopter to set 88 plus or minus a few units. Here's our side-by-side with South on the left and then Jane Russman on the right. Just a comparison of progress where we were at the same time into the project. So continue to make great strides. The job trailer is going to be going out next month so that they can finish the detention pond and sidewalks, landscaping. So they'll move into the building for their office. And so right now we are definitely on track for, I don't want to say easy, what's a smooth opening. A smooth opening. We're looking to get permanent power turned on this month. Building has been in the dry for a long time. I think we get more rain in some of our other buildings right now than we do this school right now, I believe, which is a good thing. It allows them to keep progress going. Rooftop startup should be end of the month, so we can start conditioning the spaces, which always helps with our finishes. Elevator, we're still waiting on confirmation that it has shipped. It was scheduled to ship Friday. We just haven't received that confirmation yet. And then we're still looking at a substantial completion by August. We've got furniture delivery scheduled right now for July 1st.
So when will Pogue's lawyers be able to let you change that slide?
To July.
What's that?
When's Pogue's lawyers gonna let you change that slide?
Yeah, I don't think they ever will.
Brad.
July.
Brad, can we say July?
July.
July. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like it will be July. I don't know if they'll change the slide.
They're waiting until the last day.
Yeah.
See, we did it.
The day before.
Yeah.
Then we'll change it.
Well, I won't get into contract or anything. Like, are there accelerated damages if it doesn't happen in July or something like that, or August, or what? Are they leaving it August just because that's what the contract is, or?
They are leaving it that because they don't want to sell themselves short in case something happens. And yes, there are liquidated damages in the contract if they don't meet the date. But as I told them the other day, I will give you all the days you want. It still has to open in August. So they can take as long as they want, as long as it's open by August.
We all know what first day of school is important, but we harp on it because what our teachers and administrators had to endure at West, we don't want that ever happening again.
No.
So
I anticipate this to be the smoothest we've had yet. We have not delivered furniture this early before.
Yeah.
Teachers need their time.
Yes.
And millwork too. I mean, we were July and didn't have millwork in at West.
Yes.
So
This millwork is scheduled to install next week. They'll start
Yeah.
installing.
So,
I mean, the reality of it is Pogue improves from project to project.
Correct.
So the middle school is going to be done in, what, 6-7 months?
Yeah.
Like that.
July.
Dale, why are you laughing?
July.
Why are you laughing? I'm not laughing.
He almost fell out of his
Yeah, he
chair.
did.
No, but I think like I said, you know, South did fine. It's just we still have a fear factor of West, and so we like reading July. So even if Pogue's going to deliver in July, it's just important. I think it's important for I know at least myself. I won't speak for the board. It's important that our teachers definitely have as much time as possible to get settled in.
Yes.
That 48-hour window was something we'll all remember for those of us who are up there. Like, what can we do to help?
Yes, I've heard about it ever since I started.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
Right.
You don't want to be the guy.
Don't want to be the guy.
Yeah. Okay.
We appreciate him. It's looking great.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Thank you.
My turn?
It is your turn. I'm not going to jump in or anything.
All right, my turn. This is the fun part. This is where I get so excited. I get to do a superintendent report. So celebrations. We have One Act Play has advanced to area, so we're very proud of our One Act Play students at Argyle High School. They will compete April 8th at Keller Central High School, so good luck to our One Act Play as they advance. Debate. We had a host of state semifinalists, and we had top speaker, state champion, and cross-examination debate. So congratulations to Addison High of Argyle High School for that accomplishment. We also have 2 Argyle High School track athletes that have been invited to Texas Relays this week through qualifications. So that will be Tyler Westrom and Brian Willems. Congratulations on that. If you don't know Texas Relays,
He's not running.
he's not running, but you know, he gets to claim a little bit of that, right? Texas Relays is a huge event in Austin once a year, and it's collegiate and high school athletes. So that's exciting for them to be able to be a part of that because not anybody can go and participate. Boys powerlifting. So I want to take just a minute to explain something here. So we had 2 silver medalists this weekend at the boys powerlifting state meet. We have a student athlete, Aaron Gomez. He won the silver medal in his weight class of 198 pounds. So keep that number in mind. If you're not aware, powerlifting has 3 main lifts. It's bench press, squat, and deadlift. And he had a total of 1,830 pounds. Now remember, he weighs 198 pounds. But this is the big part. His maximum bench press was 585 pounds.
Wow.
That is absolutely insane. He's so incredibly strong. So
That was
kudos.
bench, not deadlift?
That was just his bench, y'all. He had a 515, I think a 550, and his third attempt was 585. So just want to do a big shout. That's huge. So congratulations to Aaron. Did a great job down there. Our baseball team right now is ranked 16th nationally. So we are off running with baseball. And then finally, our girls soccer, they do begin their playoff run tomorrow night. So they're playing over in Grapevine Colleyville, and they're playing Midlothian High School. So go Eagles. That's what I have to say about that.
That's right.
All right, Teacher of the Year. So right before spring break, we had the opportunity to celebrate in grand fashion our Teacher of the Years for this year. We had a prize bus, if you will. We had the drum line. We had cheerleaders. We had the Eagle. You name it, we had the pomp and circumstance. I want to say thank you to Argyle Education Foundation. They presented a monetary check to each winner. We had Jostens there to present a Teacher of the Year, to fit them and actually provide them a Teacher of the Year ring. And we want to thank our partners from Pogue. They also provided a monetary donation to each of the Teachers of the Year. So thank you to our sponsors with our Teacher of the Year process. And those Teachers of the Year are in the process of filling out their applications for the district-wide secondary and elementary to move on to the next round. So very proud of them. Budget process update. We've been hosting campus meetings. We have the first round all completed. We've been doing monthly board workshops so our community can hear the same conversations we're having with our staff on campus and with our board. So we are scheduled for our next one next Tuesday. Monday's a holiday, so we'll have it on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We are slated to have I think we're having our Moat Casey special ed staffing presentation as well that day, along with the board workshop for the budget, the next budget. Just a reminder, all decisions are a way for us to reset our resources. I know that there are some positions that are being repurposed in different ways, but we're excited because next year we're gonna do our collaborative visioning process, which is gonna really set our direction for the next 5 years and let us reallocate as we're able to put those resources of personnel back in the right places, and really realign those resources. So we're gonna get through that process, but yes, we are having to make some difficult decisions right now, but we know that in the long run we're going to prevail on the other side of this and have our resources in the right places. As far as the bond goes, we do have a bond on the ballot for May 4th election. We are excited to have launched our website right before spring break. So if you haven't seen that, I encourage you to get on there and start kind of perusing the website. There's a lot of information on there. If you have questions, you can reach out to Mr. Heron's team. We will certainly get you more information. I want to say thank you to Mr. Heron and his team. They were at ASC's STEM night last week. They were at AYSA's opening day Saturday. We were at the Easter egg hunt yesterday in the town of Argyle. In the wind, all the wind out there with the Easter eggs. But we had a table set up, just making sure our community's informed and also registered to vote for those that might not be registered yet. We have Miss Tiffany that sits out here as our receptionist. She's also a voter registrar, so she's able to register anyone to vote. If you need to do so, please see her and she can help you with that. And then our staff and community presentations are coming up. We'll be doing campus presentations and community ones. So our website's chock full of information, and we encourage you to please make sure you're informed. Board meeting change in May. We are going to move the meeting from May 20th to May 22nd. There's a lot of senior activities, including the rose ceremony on Monday night, May 20th. So we are going to move the board meeting to Wednesday night that week. So that's just a change on the schedule. We'll make sure everyone is aware of that. But we have several trustees that have seniors and several admin with seniors, and so we certainly did not want those to conflict. So we will take care of that. Our band is having their first annual, I believe, Band Boosters Fun Run, May 11th. So there's a 5K and a 1K. It's been in all the newsletters, campus newsletters, so please sign up and participate in that. That goes a long way with our Band Boosters. And then the last thing I have is we have a murder mystery theater, talking about our fine arts, amazing fine arts kids. They will be doing that on Murder at the Malt Shop on April 20th, so get your tickets for that experience. All right, lots going on, so thank you.
Yeah, I'll add, I thought your Teacher of the Year celebration was a really cool, different experience, and, bringing the families in that could make it for the teachers. And Rick, I know your team probably had a big hand in that, and I thought it was fantastic, so.
We did enjoy including the families, because it was a very special moment, so thank you.
I thought those videos were awesome.
My daughter's arms were tired from playing the cymbals.
Yes, she did. She had a full day. We fed them lunch, but she did have a full day to get there.
That's what she signed up for.
That is a true statement. That is a true statement.
All right, we've got information only now.
All right. Cell tower.
Who's doing our lease? Mr. Ledford.
Mr. Ledford.
Good evening, Mr. Ledford.
How are you guys?
Hello.
So I usually come up here and ask to spend some money, but tonight I'm asking for you to let us receive some money.
There you go.
So a little different. We have a new Singular Wireless Corporation that wants to come in and build a Singular tower at the baseball field over on 377, and it'll allow us to receive $2,000 a month for 5 years. The life of the lease would be for 5 years. I've got a little bit of information just to give you that goes along with it. So the highest point would be 114 feet. Our light poles there on the baseball field are about 80 feet. So it will be a little bit taller than the lights. They originally wanted to put it on the left field dugout, or the bullpen right on the north side of the bullpen, and we met as a group and we didn't feel like that would really be a good place, because as you're sitting watching the game you'd be able to see it. So we asked them to kind of move it back to where when both the baseball and the softball were watching the game they wouldn't be able to see the tower. We didn't want them to have to look at that while the game was going on. So that's the place that we decided would be a good place for that to be installed. They will take care of all of the permitting and the application process with the city. They will maintain that area. They will also purchase their own electric meter. So we will be basically hands-off and just, if they need us, we'll have a conversation and we'll see what needs to be done, but it's gonna be pretty much ran by them, so.
So just mailbox money.
Do what?
Just mailbox money.
There you go, right. Just sit there and earn.
Is that pretty standard as far as a lease goes?
So we have had another company reach out to us since then, and they have proposed a lesser amount, but we've discussed that this is gonna be our standard going forward because we may get other opportunities to do this. I believe the company that reached out wanted to do it over here at that dead end, on going out where the softball field would be center field. And we were gonna meet and visit with them, but they had somebody contact them and said that it was too close to the airport that's right over here. So we don't know if that's on hold for a little while, and we'll see if that comes back up. But as of right now, it's not gonna be there. But
We also had Verizon at least 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, maybe longer, that inquired with us about putting a cell phone tower behind the 6th grade center. But the fees associated with that were so minimal, it was,
right.
We decided not to go forward with that because it was less than $1,000 a year.
No, it wasn't that low. But
It was real low.
yeah. Well,
So-
well, also, we were concerned, and the question I'd have is really kind of the liability aspect. You know, windstorm falls, what's the insurance coverage provided by this group? And is there a way to even put it away further from where people might be, i.e. the concession stands and the...
We haven't looked at another site. Other than that, we have looked at a few different places, but there's no place that would be accessible to them on the property that we have in that area at the middle school that would work. So.
But here my concerns is windstorms, and you got a 114-foot tower that's gonna fall on our property.
We do have to get our light poles inspected.
They're required to maintain insurance, and the lease will be reviewed by legal for anything prior to an official signature.
They do have to have at least $1 million property coverage and bodily injury coverage.
I got a couple questions. One's market related. I understand you're saying that we're kind of establishing a value for the district to do something like this potentially, but have we done anything to find out what the market rate is for cell tower leases and negotiations?
Yes. Yes, so when you mentioned the Verizon a couple of years ago, at that point in time, we had legal look at it, and they had looked at several others and were talking with us about the rates, and this is similar to the rate that they were discussing and not the lower end that we turned down.
Okay. But was it similar to the rate they were discussing back when we were talking to Verizon or today?
I'll verify on that, but I believe it was at the time.
Yeah, I guess that was where I was going to go was, you know, they're not going to come offer you the world. You have to ask for it.
Right, we have to negotiate a little bit.
You have to ask for it. So I trust you guys to do that. But my question too, sorry Josh if I'm cutting you off, but it says 5-year contract and then it renews for another 5 years at 10% increase. Do we have the option at that end of the 5th year to say no thanks, come get it?
We do.
We don't know what's going to go on over there. And I don't know, in terms of that diagram where you showed where it is, how far off our property line to the west is that?
So it would be as far as we want it to be, as long as it's not outside our property line.
And do you have any, I mean, I know I'm asking you to guess, how far does our property line go?
So we've talked about that tree, maybe removing the tree or not removing the tree, but where I want to put it, it's not completely set yet, but it's in that general area. So I want to move it between both of them so that it's as far away from the fence as we can get it. It doesn't disturb those restrooms right there that we have to have until we get our restrooms renovated. So it's going to be back just a little bit south of where it is there now. and maybe over on top of that hill, there's a hill that you can drive up, you know what I'm talking about, so it'll be basically on top of that hill, and that would be the highest point.
I was just talking about, I know where the fence is for the complex, and then you have the dirt driveway down there on that hill. How far to the west does our property line go from there?
Not very
Is it
far.
just at
Where
the
that
bottom
orange
of that
fence-
hill, basically?
So there's an orange fence there that we put up so we don't lose
Oh.
softballs.
Yeah.
And that's about where it stops. So it's probably 60 feet.
And so
Maybe.
that hill you're talking about, are they gonna maintain that from this point forward?
They're gonna maintain the drive.
So they're gonna put a drive in there?
They're gonna put a gravel drive in there, and there's already an entrance where that gate is.
Yeah.
So they'll put a gravel drive to that gate.
So, the second part of my question, this touches on it a little bit, was have we looked far enough down the road to make sure that this site that you're showing here, plus the access easement, is not going to create any challenges for us if we were to ever upgrade the concession stand and bathroom? I mean, that needs to be upgraded. I think we've talked about that in our budget meetings.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I hope that we're looking at what that footprint would look like, because I certainly wouldn't want this lease to dictate to us how we have to design any upgrades out there.
So we have looked at a footprint with
Go
that.
further
And
north.
I know Jeff has talked with a couple of architects, and they
This is
have
the most recent.
got real close to the design, and it wouldn't at all affect where that concession stand is, or the restrooms.
And so one of the suggestions, and we'll have legal look at it, but when you have access easements like that, I mean, really all they need is access. They don't really, they
Right.
just need some form of access. I would ask that we talk about,
Access from Harpole.
you know, if we're gonna redesign the site, that we can also relocate their access.
Yep.
Okay.
If that were to,
Okay.
if we wanted that, some fluidity
Right.
in that.
Access from
You
Harpole.
can access from the other end,
Yeah,
too.
From
that's
the-
kinda what I was thinking, like, I don't know that
Instead
may
of
be-
them going through
That way they're not
our
coming
parking
through our
lot, they're not
property.
coming through our
Right.
property, they could,
If we would have put it where they originally wanted to, it would have probably been it would have been a little bit more safe for people watching the game, because it would have been farther away from our stands, but we just didn't feel like people wanted to look at that while they were watching the game.
And what their site, they're gonna have a site plan associated with this. I guess they're gonna have to go through the town to get it
Yes.
approved.
yeah,
They are.
they're gonna
That may be
cover
the end
all
of the
of that.
discussion, so.
I would encourage them not to cut the tree down.
Yeah, I would tell them that, for sure.
So, I mean, this all may go away if their site plan doesn't get approved by the town.
Exactly. They wouldn't have approached us
You can
though
make
if
it
they
one
would
of
have
those
already
fake
talked to
trees.
them.
It might be.
They've already probably done a little bit of discussions with them before they talked to us. And there is a need for a cell tower in that area, so
Yeah.
it just depends on what the city would want to do, I guess.
I'm sorry, I have one more question too. Being a tower host, so to speak, are we able to negotiate anything addition to that? Meaning, you know, I know we have certain radio coverages and things like that we could use that tower for. I know other people that have towers on properties that they have, like for internet towers, and they're getting their internet network free. They're getting, you know, as part of that fee, right? You get the fee plus you get cell service, right? If we have so many people that we're offering cell service to, maybe we switch them to whoever that provider is. I didn't know Singular was still around, quite frankly.
It said AT&T on the diagrams.
And we haven't accepted any offer at this point.
And listen, I trust that you guys are gonna work it to the most advantageous as possible, but, you know, that's why I was asking too about the 5-year lease, what Mr. Western was talking about, expanding the concession stand, or I was even thinking if that land were to get acquired by us to expand in the future. It's been for sale on that corner for a long time.
That would be a huge different scenario.
I just,
if we
that
acquired
way
that
we wouldn't
land.
be stuck into something for a 20-year lease that we have to
Right.
build around or something like that.
We do get to renegotiate at the end of every 5 years, so that's
Okay.
that's a plus. We're not
This will
stuck with
be you all's decision, but, you know, you commented on, originally you're looking further, north, right?
Mhm.
To put it, but it could be in the sight line of somebody if they were to actually look to the left. I would be okay with that, cause that would be a much safer alternative, cause the population of people are gonna be where
That
you have
collection
it
is.
right now.
Yeah.
And we could stick a flag on it
Right.
You know, and make it a nice site. Anyway, that's the only preference I would have. I know it's you all's decision, but I think getting it out of the way of people is a better benefit than having it in the sight line of somebody who's looking at the ball field. That's my only.
No, I think that's a good thought process, because, you know, we were thinking about people seeing it, but it's probably good to consider the safety of the people that are there.
And on the safety end, are we good as far as health issues or anything like that with having a cell tower?
At this time, I haven't heard of anything being
I mean, I just don't know in general
health
about
related.
cell towers.
That's something I will definitely look into and ask some more questions about.
I mean, that would be
Tower's closest
my
to you in your
concern, you
hand.
know.
Right.
It's 114 feet up, but, you know, you don't want it, for lack of a better term, radiating something out that we don't need to have there.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something, at least that I would want to know, that it's safe for all those people that gather in that area.
For sure.
Or what kind of radius you're talking, if anything.
For sure.
And so is this a, I mean,
It's
I know
This
this
is information only.
but there's no recommendation being made that like this, should we anticipate that this is gonna be a recommendation?
Yes, and
Yeah,
yes, correct.
next
We
month.
wanted to get
Sign the
feedback
deal.
to see what the
Yeah.
temperature of the board was on that.
It's a new process.
And the feedback, you know, is definitely something we need to move forward. You know, if you guys think we want to look at the north of the bullpen, that's something we could revisit, but.
That's just me.
No,
But it's
I-
only affecting the home field viewers, and only if they turn their head to the left.
If they're not watching the game.
If they're not watching
the game, they're looking at foul territory.
And it'll be fairly even with the light poles. It'll just look a little taller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally, I would look at, is there any way to move it further north, and maybe even look at access, that gravel road access from Harp Hole, and where they're not coming on property for any maintenance, if that's a possibility. And no tree removal. So
No tree.
Well, that'd be on them, but either way.
yeah, but still.
The leaves get all over that field. It makes it very hard to keep the leaves off that field. But
So is this the kind of thing that only one cell company can put their thing up there like that? Because, you know, I've seen cell towers. that
On
have-
property. I mean,
On the property.
on that property.
But can
Right. She means
can
on
they
the
then
tower.
rent
On the-
space
so,
At the top.
on their own, on their tower for other people?
It's all
companies?
governed by the lease.
they
Those are
can.
terms.
Governed by the lease, okay. Got it.
So at the end of the lease, we can
Yeah, we want.
terminate the lease, but they have to have first opportunity going forward. If we sign a lease with them, at the end of the first term lease or any term lease, they have to have the first opportunity of re-establishing. We can't just say, you're gone and the next person come in.
Gotcha, okay. And if they are gone, what happens to the tower?
They come and remove
They
it.
have to take it
Yeah,
with them?
they have to remove it.
I'm not implying they should be gone, I'm just saying. I want the leftovers, I don't need to.
Is there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Dr. Jordan.
Yep. Hello. Hi. Yes. So this is for information only. This is the new curriculum for language arts and science. So I'm going to go through the process that we use to select. There is a budgetary impact, but that I'm going to explain a little bit more about that. That is not for tonight. Okay, so the process, first of all, for language arts, Learner Services invited all teachers K through 8 that teach language arts to attend the 3 vendor sessions from HMH, Savvis, and McGraw-Hill. At the end of that, they had the opportunity to fill out a rubric to give us their initial thoughts, how they felt the materials met their needs. And then we compiled those. The next step is that principals chose some teachers to represent every school, every grade level, to have a planning day to determine a lesson plan of how they're going to try out each one of these materials, because getting their hands on it was very important. Then those teachers took it back to their campus where they shared those lesson plans with their team, distributed materials so that anybody who was interested could trial the materials. So for language arts, bless you, here are the results. You'll see that there are participants from every campus, every grade level, and first choice was HMH for language arts. We went through the exact same process for science, except there were 4 different publishers because we currently use STEM scopes. The other 3 we chose because it's important in order to get some of the money they've set aside for new instructional materials, that you use vendors from their approved list. These are vendors that are big vendors who are going to do what it's going to take to be on a state as large as Texas approved list, even though those lists are not ready yet. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. Once again, the results showed that HMH had the most votes. If you look at the kind of teal green slide, so when these were tabulated, if the teacher voted something first, it got more points on the rubric as if they put it fourth. So there was only 3 points difference between HMH and Savas. So then we went and looked at, well, which one of those vendors got the most first place votes, and both of those things pointed to HMH, which is great because they interact well together. So the reason HMH was chosen, of course, because it was the overall first choice from teachers. It is the most cost effective. We did get a quote from each one of the vendors. Their customer service has been absolutely excellent, which is important because we need them to be readily available to our teachers as they have questions and request assistance. They do provide 3 sessions that are all in person for training. And it also aligns with MAP. It's actually owned, HMH actually owns MAP assessments, so it talks well with their program, which just makes it more convenient for our staff. So here's everything that's included, and it came back to what did the teachers want. These are the things that they wanted. There's all sorts of different packages that can be included. So basically for our older grade levels, there's more digital materials. For our younger grade levels, there's more hands-on materials. But all the science is coming with consumables as well, so they don't have to go out and find all the little pieces to go with every lab that they want. So now a little bit about the reimbursement, and this is kind of a little bit of a confusing mess because House Bill 1605 laid out some guidelines for instructional materials, and they told us we're going to get $40 a year per student starting this year, but we can't use it yet. So they put it in our bank account, and we get $40 again next year for every student. Not $40 per subject, but $40 per student. So we're banking that money, but we can't use it. It's time to purchase instructional materials, but they don't have the list ready. And so they're saying, go ahead and proceed, and the money will be there for you when the list is approved. Just make a smart choice. They gave like preliminary lists, so of course we did go off those preliminary lists, and we only trialed publishers that were on the preliminary lists. So here's the bottom line. It's a 4-year subscription for both of those products, which you see is over $1 million. I divided it up into 4. I don't know why there's 3 places after the penny. I'm not sure. That 8 shouldn't be there. I'm so sorry about that.
This is working with you.
I'm going to make precise.
Go all the way out.
All the way out, yeah.
These budget workshops go to
So-
3 decimal places.
We did ask them to figure, well, what if we just did a 1-year adoption instead of a 4-year? Or so we could use that $40 the next year after the official list. And we actually didn't save any money because the discount they give us is so great with the 4-year subscription that the discount is more than the $40 per student saving. And so we felt like this was the best way to go. And we're in a position for language arts that we need to purchase something because Lucy Calkins is no longer the best fit for us. And so we feel like we really need to proceed.
So these are going to be ignorant questions. Surprise, surprise.
They're good questions.
So we're identifying the cost to move it forward on this, but what have the costs historically been? So we're replacing cost, aren't we? So we're having to pay for educational programs already that we won't be paying for in the future. So this is not necessarily addited cost to
Correct.
the budget. So
You
what
are
are
correct.
we paying right now?
It was already purchased before I got here, so I don't know that total.
Liz, do you know?
Was that through IMA?
Yeah, I don't
Was
know.
that
This
also
is-
through IMA though?
Yes, it's
Yes.
all through IMA.
It's not budgeted, it's through IMA.
Correct.
It's the IMA.
Yes.
state allotment.
My point,
This has incremental cost
advocating
to it
for you,
versus-
Thank you.
is that this
You
is
just don't
not
know the number.
additive $250,000 to the budget.
Correct.
We've already probably been spending at least $200,000 on these programs anyway.
Yes.
Right.
Is
This
that what
is
I'm hearing?
this is the revolving door. We're
Yes.
always getting a new updated curriculum. They go in cycles so that we always have updated material in every subject area. So yes, right now it is language arts and science, and then we'll be looking at math next year.
Okay.
And it is our instructional materials allotment. It is not district budget.
This is not
Okay.
district money, right?
Okay.
And
This
if
is
we don't-
TEA
If we
money.
don't spend it all, do we get to bank it?
It is banking, yes.
So if
It's
you-
banking now because they haven't released it, but
Right.
once they
Correct.
release it,
Then we'll
if
spend
we,
it.
we need to make sure we spend it all, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so here's a timeline, which I know it's small, and there's a lot of numbers, but basically where the yellow boxes start, there's a green line going through there. That's when they say they're releasing the funds, and that's in November of 2024, which is not great timing for schools, right? Because we need to be purchasing those materials before school begins.
And so when you say they,
They
you're talking about the TEA?
I'm talking about TEA,
TEA,
yes.
okay. And the
Yes.
TEA is relying on what House Bill 1605 says?
1605 said that they came up with the timeline, and that there's certain criteria that have to be met by new instructional materials, such as having
Fiscal year starts.
a site for parents to review materials. And so that started a whole thing. You may have seen some of the discussion on the House and Senate floor about what can and can't be in science textbooks, for example. So all that was because of House Bill 1605, and then this was all the trickle down from that of how to release those funds and the guidelines associated with in order to access those funds. Here's the thing, the criteria that you have to meet.
You would think that TEA would understand when a fiscal year starts for a school.
So
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
their
It's just
first
unbelievable.
priority, I can't remember which slide it is on, their first priority is K through 2 phonics, K through 5 language arts, K through 8 science. So they figured out exactly how many curriculums they could review per month, and that's where they came up with November. And so they work backwards.
Because the State Board of Education's having to actually review all of
Yes,
this.
so we're reviewing all of them.
So did HMH agree to, if we sign the contract with them, they'll float us until the state pays
So
it,
we
releases
have-
the money?
Well, we have enough money. Every 2 years, legislative years, we get a bundle of money. There's a certain amount per student that we get for instructional materials. We have enough money now that we can pay for year one. And then by
So,
2025,
okay.
we'll
So you
have
pay
more
it
money.
annually?
Yes.
Pay annually. Mhm.
Oh, I thought they
Yes.
would give you the discount, but you had to pay it up front.
No, they've been very flexible, and they said as long as we have our money by the end of 4 years, they don't care how we pay it. So we're going to divide it into 4.
Let's talk about that, hold on. Let's bank
I,
it
you
next
know what,
year.
there's probably more than that, but our rep has been very sweet.
Can't
Request
bank.
for TEA, when you're purchasing.
Oh.
then
Yeah,
they give us
bank
the money
TEA.
as
We're,
we pay
we're
it
not
out.
getting
It's not
interest
money
on
that we
IMA.
get.
We don't,
Okay.
but it's in a bank down there.
Yeah,
course
it's not
it
our
is.
bank.
It doesn't pay interest.
It's in a bank down
I
there.
can't take
So
it.
I understand the need
We're trying.
to
trying.
change the language arts because of the Lucy Calkins thing.
Correct.
On the science side, is there a need to change curriculum? Because there's the cost of doing business for the teachers of having to change a whole new system. And so what was the rationale as far as changing?
It's adoption year. So like I said, they go in cycles so that we always have updated materials. And so it is adoption year for science. It is not adoption year for language arts because of our needs, we decided to go for both of them at
And
once.
so like the science department, all those teachers, they are fully recognize that change happens every 4 years? Or
Yes.
could potentially happen every 4
Yes,
years?
so one of the options that the science teachers reviewed was STEM scopes, which is what they currently use, and it placed last
Okay.
of their options.
Okay.
So they could have
So they could be
continued to
excited
use.
about this.
I think they
Okay.
are, yes.
And really, a lot of times, the resources, if the TEKs haven't been rewritten in several years, then they're looking for the best resources for the TEKS. And the science TEKS, when was the last?
Yeah, science TEKS were updated.
Just
Yes,
recently.
uh-huh.
So now the material stems, so now they're getting something that's more aligned with the science TEKS.
Yep.
That's a good question, though. Okay, thank you. And you'll bring that back in May?
Bring it back in May.
April, sorry. I'm a month ahead.
April, yes, April. And this one goes along with it. This is also for information only. So EF was a policy for instructional materials and library materials. It was all materials, instructional materials in one policy. So because of House Bill 900, we have to divide it out into EFA, instructional materials, and EFB, library materials. And so TASB, with their guidance, we have these policies for you. EFA, instructional materials, just all materials that are going to be used in the classroom. It outlines selection, so we kind of talked about that. Shall be chosen from a list of resources adopted by the State Board of Education. And then it goes down into talking about who should be part of the selection committee, which is the staff members, and then what to do if a resource is challenged. It recommends first going to the campus and trying to resolve it informally. It also states there that a parent always has the right to ask that another set of instructional materials be used for their child, which we do. We were already doing that if a parent was uncomfortable with a particular book or something. And then it further goes down into formal reconsideration. The reconsideration committee has to be provided, and that would work through my office. And then once the challenge material a written report will be provided, and then it cannot be challenged again. And then the second part is for library materials. Very similar process. It just talks about the importance of having appropriate library materials, and then outlines penal code for obscene materials. Talks about the importance of having books that interest all students. And once again, this is all coming from House Bill 900. You can scroll down a little bit more. Talks about the selection of materials, and that the groups that should be part of that selection committee. Parental involvement encourages parents to work with the librarian and the campus administrators if they have any parameters they want to put on their child's self-selection. And then it describes what to do for the informal challenge and the formal challenge of library materials. For a formal challenge, it has, they would come get the form from my office, and it sets dates similar to appeals. Well, you know, there's 10 days here, there's 10 days here, but then it leaves 60 days to come to the final conclusion, because that will require a period of time for reading the book, analysis of the book, and writing the report.
So this is like another example of Big Brother state telling us we can't govern these types of issues here locally. That's what this really is, right? That we can't pick our books, we can't have our own book policies, we can't have our book dictating to us how we do things, I guess.
Yes, but it does say that we are the ones that need to select the materials, that our teachers need to select the materials, that we need to be the ones selecting our books. So I think that, yes, I do agree with you to some extent, but it still gives us the power.
Okay,
And it
good.
really gives the parent to know their rights, that they have input in. Like I said, it encourages the parent to be involved and to
In the book,
Yes.
so in the selection
in
of
their
books or the
child's
Child's
education,
Right.
really, whether if they don't agree with something, that they can ask for something different for their child, and to work with the librarian for self-selection for something appropriate for their child. And so I can appreciate that part of it, reminding the parents that it's important for them to be involved.
And it outlines a challenge procedure.
It does.
That everybody has to follow.
Correct.
I guess all the districts in the state would have to have established the same challenge policy and procedure.
If they're working with TASB, it'll probably look just like this, but yes.
Yes. Some, what I like about having EFA and EFB separate from EF is that when you have instructional materials and library books all in one policy, it gets really muddy. So this does allow us to be able to to customize that a little bit better, because teachers have classroom materials and sometimes they have library books in their classroom, but then you've got library books in the library. And so as the legislation was changing and all of the book controversy was happening across the state, EF was just not enough anymore. It was all too muddy. So this is, some districts split this up last year even. So, and some used TASB's recommendation and some went off and wrote their own. Even more strict than what TASB put down.
So
but
this is a TASB recommendation.
well, this is their version of it.
This is their version.
Because
of
that's one of the things they do is
the
they'll take
requirements from 900.
they'll take a legislation and write a sample local policy. And so she went through it with the librarians and with and we decided that what was in there, the recommendation is fits our community, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so
But we can come up with our own?
Yep.
Yes.
We can wordsmith this one.
I have been a part of that
That's what I
process
wanted
already.
to kind of discuss, because this is local policy, it's not legal
Correct.
policy, and so we do have some flexibility
Yes.
here.
So
if
they-
you don't like what it says, then.
Right,
As long
so
as-
the person
as long
from
as House Bill
TASB
900 is covered,
yes.
the spirit of it, then local you have really the options we would have would be in the procedural part.
So is it, am I looking at just pretty much precisely what TASB is recommending based on
It's
House
their
Bill
model
900?
policy.
Yes, but then they
No-
did
no
send it
adjustments have
to
been
me.
made
I
to
discussed it
finance.
with the librarians and we did make some tweaks to it that we felt better suited us. So,
Mm-hmm.
they sent us a draft, we made some changes, they sent it back, and this is the final version.
So-
It's a little more lenient than a couple others I've seen.
So we did talk about it one time, I think it was with your predecessor, about the policy we had at that time and creating, I think they've created some of, procedures to go through if you don't like it for your student
Yeah.
in a given classroom situation. But in the library, we talked about creating, for lack of a better term, I guess, like a rated R section, kind of selection of the library. And if you want your kid to be able to access that, you had to opt in. You had to opt your kid in to be able to access that section of the library.
I
Right?
hope we don't have any rated R sections of the library, but maybe PG-13 in a high school.
I can promise you there are people in this community, and I can cite you some that my kids have read, that they pulled out of the library that need to be in the
Right.
rated R section. So I'm just saying, I think this has taken some of those steps when this came up, as you mentioned, a year or two ago. I think they've taken some, but to your point about can we make it more specific to us, I know there were some districts around us that were doing, maybe it's not a rated R section, but you get
Mature.
my point.
Yeah, I
Like,
do,
it's-
I do.
It's content
Yes.
that I didn't want my freshman reading or even younger reading, right? So anyway, I just think there is more customization if we choose to do that we can do.
Well, you'll notice it says like learner services, so it is customized to us already. It's not just, go to the administration office. So we did already add some customizations in there that we felt like were best for our district from the
So
librarians
y'all have
input
gone
as
through
well.
that process, and this is the policy that you're
Yes,
that you
sir.
anticipate recommending.
Yes. But you have it for a month.
Okay.
We'll bring it back
Yeah,
next
and
month.
that's what I appreciate about
Yes, I do.
the new process is that we're giving this for a month. And this is one of the 4 tenets that a board is responsible for
Policy.
is local policy. And so if we don't agree with it, then now's the time or within the next month is the time to discuss it.
Okay.
Right.
Good, thank you.
Dr. Jordan, is there a way to look at the original recommendation from TASB versus the changes that
Yes, sir.
you and your team have made?
I can get that to you.
That'd be great.
Like a red line version,
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
allow us to see what they've got.
Yep.
Okay, the 24-25 staffing plan. As you know, this is information only, and you'll actually get more detailed information with an actual dollar amount next week during our budget workshop. It won't be at the next board meeting. We're bringing this back to you next week for a vote. And so, as you know, we've been looking at all of our schedules and evaluating the study from Moat Casey and really trying to right-size our classes. And so at this point, we believe that in grades 6 to 12, that we will not need to add
any new positions, that we'll be able to fill them through attrition and resignations and retirements. But at the elementary level, grades pre-K to 5, since we are opening up a new campus, we do anticipate adding new teaching positions to fill those openings. And it's not just at the new campus. You may or may not remember back in the fall, we asked current elementary teachers if they were interested in transferring to a different campus. So we've been putting that puzzle together, and now we have approximately 25 teaching positions that need to be filled. But again, they're not just at JRE, they're spread across, and they're not, these would be new positions. And then we're also, as far as administration and counseling goes, we were able to fill those through attrition as well. New principal the new principal at JRE, as you know, or she still is, an assistant principal at one of the campuses. The new counselor that's going to be at the new campus is a counselor from one of the other campuses. So we've shuffled people around just based on ratios. So next week, when I come back to you, I will have a breakdown of what exactly those positions are that are going to need to be filled, and the budget impact.
So Chris, is this 25 total, or is it 25 added to what we knew we needed in opening up a new elementary school?
It's 25 total.
So that's crazy. You know, that we're opening up a whole new middle school and we're still only going to add 25 total. Elementary school.
Elementary.
That's impressive.
And that's looking at, there's ways to still make that less. We're using a ratio of 22 to 1 right now. And we can go up to, we don't want to, but we can go up even higher. But in order for it to actually make an impact on staff and the number of staff that we hire, we'd have to go up to like 26, 27. And that's not something we're going to recommend.
Not for elementary.
Not for elementary,
Yeah.
right.
But we've been wheeling away.
That's impressive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, on to action. Yes.
Yeah, I can already do that. All right. I will entertain a motion to approve action item 10A as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Hawksworth, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Leanne Artho with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Jeff, come on down.
Okay. Tonight we've got the guaranteed maximum price for the new middle school over on 407 for you to consider. We issued this as a CM at risk contract. Pogue was awarded that not quite a year ago. And we went out for bids last month to the subcontract population. So on February 27th, we received 298 bids that day, which is a huge number of responses. Pogue could tell you better than I could that that's probably a third more than what is typical. So I think we've hit the timing on this project very well to get that kind of response. So the current proposed guaranteed maximum price, and this is with alternates. Can you go to I think the next page has the details. Yeah, there you go. So to start with, our base bid without alternates, the GMP, we were just over $85 million, while our budget was almost $88,750. So we've gone through, we had, I believe, 8 alternates total that were bid. And we brought this back recommending the ones you see here, which is actually a lot of parking lots. There was 4 separate alternates on parking. And then we've also got an alternate for a concession restroom building. We've got the building in the base bid, but it's just a storage building. But this would build it out and actually be a concession with restrooms. And then we've also got an alternate that we're recommending to add home side bleachers and a basic press box. It's just a pre-manufactured press box. It's not a fancy press box. The seating is for approximately 750, the way this was bid. So the total that we're recommending, including these alternates, is $87,392,415. Still under our total construction budget on this project, which was 746,727.
And that original budget was conceived years ago.
Yes.
With anticipated inflation rates, et cetera. What did we see in regards to, I mean, if we have heavy bidding, I'm guessing the prices have either neutralized by subcontractors or they have gone down. What did we see in relation to our last build? I'm asking Poe. Or I guess you, Jeff, because you have your eyes on them also, apparently.
Oh, yes. Yes, I would say it's kind of more of a leveling off right now. I haven't seen a lot of prices going down. Some are trending that way, but it hasn't made a great impact yet. I think a lot of this has to do with the subcontractors that Poe reaches out to, and the fact that a lot of these are already working for us. They've either worked on Argyle South, they're working on the current Jane Russman, and I think he can tell you that a lot of those contractors enjoy working here. And so I think a lot of it has to do with how we operate as a district, and then the fact we've got Poe now building their second one, getting better each time. The plans are getting better each time. So I think that's got a lot to do with how they are bidding these days.
So with those contractors, they kind of assume to have the job, did they still have to go through the bid process?
Oh, yes,
even?
yes. Nobody's guaranteed the project. They still go through the process. But a lot of these trades, they're looking at the schedule and the timing. Hey, I'm in Argyle. I'm about to wrap this one up. This will be perfect timing. I just move my crew over there, and they keep on working. So they actually incur less cost. So I think that's why some of them are able to keep their numbers lower.
So you're saying, one way to say, I think what Richie's getting at is that the 298 bids, which was a 1/3 increase or a huge increase, contributed to us coming in under budget.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so the bidding process has been a positive development.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. The more you get, the more you're going to stimulate the competition, because they know who else is bidding, the same scope that they would, that particular trade.
So it's also interesting, right? And this is you said construction manager risk project.
Yes.
Right. So these are the bids that you guys feel comfortable with, right? But there's still work to be done, right?
Yes.
We've done that. We did that on Jane Russman, where we sat in this room and went through line by line and looked for VE opportunities or ways to do different things and realized those savings. And in the CMAR project, the district actually is the one that realizes those savings in coordination with you, of course.
Absolutely. That's a process that I'm always working on from start to end. We just identified about $100,000 last week on Jane Russman that we're able to save by changing a few things. So we're always looking at it. And yes, that is
visibility into that
planned
and transparency into those billing and invoices.
Absolutely. So yes, I mean, that's something I've always planned. I've always told Pogue that, just because we're under budget doesn't mean we're not going through VE. We need to look at everything and see where we can do better.
Will our bond oversight committee get a chance to look through?
They can, yes. They have not seen it yet. We haven't normally gone through like a line-by-line review with them in the past. They do always see our overall numbers, so they've seen all the budgets up to really the last two, because they actually happened during the month we didn't meet. So they haven't seen the last two budgets, which would be at 90% and then at 100% the GMP. But that is certainly a process we can work through even after approving a GMP, which is what regardless of whether BOC sees it or not, we'll do with our contractor.
So, but I thought at least one or two of them were a part of the VE for Jane Russman.
On that project, we actually did send them some of the budgets, and I don't remember if it was the 75% budget or which one it was, but they looked at it a couple of different times on that project, but that was not our normal.
I think that's something we got to really do as a board and as the district. We got to do a better job of involving them. We have folks in our community who do that every day for a living. And I mean, I go back to the original bond oversight committee was people in our community that were in commercial construction. Now we've gotten better in terms of the people that are on that, or improved in terms of those people that are on it are now specifically in school construction. So I think there's a lot of benefit and value, and quite frankly, they're taxpayers in this community, so they have a vested interest in making sure that we're doing the right thing. And in some of those instances, it might be, hey, you do need to spend the money here. Yeah, you can VE that, but you're gonna have potentially more trouble down the road by VEing that. So I just think we have something at our disposal, and we should use it as much as possible.
Absolutely, we can definitely.
My last question is in terms of these ads and these alternatives. It reads to me that we're adding 4 parking lots.
Yes.
Did we not have parking lots on the design of the school?
Yes, that was my question.
We did, just given the way Elementary 4, Jane Russman came in, there was some concern, and that was an easy area that we could, design minimal parking and then add sections of parking, and it was very easy to bid as an alternate because it only involves 4 or 5 trades. So trying to keep the alternate simple for bidding.
Okay, but I'm not.
So
I'm sorry,
we were hedging the bet on where this project was going to come in, and that's why we broke the parking lot up into so many alternates.
So part of these were already part of the original design?
These are all on the plans that you've seen. You've seen this on paper, but instead of bidding that all as base bid, to make sure we weren't going to come in over,
So
we
what was in
broke
base-
pieces out.
What was in base bid as
to
far as
bid
parking?
separately. I don't know what the parking numbers are, what the
Okay,
counts
but
are
it
off
was,
top
there was a
of my
base
head.
parking, and then this was adding back to it because we were afraid that like JRE came in,
We
we would
didn't
have
want
to,
to,
okay.
we were trying to make sure we didn't come in over, so we were looking at what could we do without
So, but
initially.
I guess the way I look at that is you cut things that you didn't think we needed. And now we're adding back things we didn't think we needed, only because we
No.
came in under budget.
No, it's not that we didn't think we need them, it's that we're hedging the bet. We weren't sure where the budget was going to come in.
But if it
So
came in
rather than-
over, we wouldn't have this extra
So
parking.
rather than having it, correct, but rather than having it come in and then going back to the contractors where we're not gonna get full value when we delete it after they've bid it, we went ahead and had them bid that separately as an alternate. So we, it is what it is, basically. I assume we're getting full value for it.
How much square footage did we cut off this building?
The original
Yes.
programming meeting that we went through, I think the request, we were up at about 180 or 90,000 square feet of what was requested. And at the end of program, we wound up at 150,000, 155, somewhere like that.
So
I thought it was much bigger than that. When I look at the,
20%.
Now, we had,
In the bond proposal?
in the bond, it was proposed to be for 1,400 students.
yeah, then there's like 230,000 square feet, right?
And it was, yes, I believe that's
So I just
correct.
wanna
I
make
believe it
sure,
was
so
over
I just
200,000
wanna
square
do
feet
that.
then.
So in bond proposal, we were projecting a 230,000 square foot middle school, 1,400 capacity, three gyms
Yes,
at $88 million.
correct.
And today, we're getting 130,000 square foot middle
I
school?
think we're at 150, maybe 160.
It's 185.
Oh, we're at 185? Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So wait,
Have my numbers confused.
So the original was 185 or 198?
No, it's 230.
The current is at 185. Originally was 230.
Over 200, okay.
think it
We're
was
over 200 with the programming.
I went back and looked, I want to say it was 230,000 square feet projected at 88 million, and what we're getting is 185,000 square feet at 87.5 million.
Keith, was the original 230 out of 1,400, or was it lower than that?
The student count?
The original.
I don't know that he
the
knows
original-
that since he didn't prepare that. I can look that up for
I think
you.
it was on a
By the time
slide
we
or
were
something.
working on it, it was with the 12.
You had done some different things, like with the
It just had, it did
1,400.
have the extra gym. It had 3 gyms originally, and we went to 2. That was the biggest cut in square footage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then, do we know, since we're now getting prepared to establish a GMP, do we know what the contractor profit is?
Yes.
And what is it?
1.49%? 1.49%
Of the total GMP.
of the cost of work, which is not the total
So
GMP.
if
There's
we
some
get
general
the
conditions and
savings-
other pieces of that don't get that markup applied. So it's 1.49 of less than this number.
And so what is part of this? If we looked at the 87 million, well, I'm still curious, 'cause it sounds like the 87 million, the reported budget was 88, but then you took out things that should have been part of the reported budget and added them as alternates, trying to save money. But lo and behold, we come up with 87 million, not the 85. I'm confused here. Because, you know, what you'd asked, all these parking lots they were part of the original design and the original budget, but you broke them out so you could potentially get some cost savings from your vendors. Is that-
Not exactly. So the original budget, which came from the 22 bond, did not have a plan to go with it. So we didn't know it was going to be this many parking spaces or this many gyms. There was really no specifics tied to that. It was a square footage and a cost that came up with the bond dollars. So initially, I can't say, yes, all this parking was included, and then we took it out to bid it separately. That would not be true.
Okay.
So is any of this parking that you're thinking about over there connected at all to the elementary school in the future, or is this just all for middle school?
No, some of it is actually located between where the two buildings would go, and so I imagine we would have a lot of elementary school teachers parking in the one lot.
So we're spending it today because
So-
we anticipate it's gonna cost more in
Yes.
2 years.
I mean, a lot of what you have in this too is spending it today instead of in the future, because we've got to do all the infrastructure with the utilities, the storm drainage, the roads to get in. So a lot of that cost, you know, in a perfect world, we would separate it and some goes on the elementary, some goes on the middle. But to get the middle school built, we've got to do it all today.
Well, and, because I remember the discussion at the council meeting, was it council or P and Z? That they were wondering why we all wanted to build all that parking now.
Yes, that was at P and Z.
Instead of just the middle school parking.
So we're not paying double for it.
Well, I agree. I mean, I agree with the concept of doing it now. I just know they questioned it.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to approve what they considered extra parking.
Too much,
beyond-
right.
Beyond what they felt the middle school needed.
Yeah,
And yet
and
it was
they're-
a cost savings for us to do everything up
Yes.
front because it was gonna be built anyway.
Well, the way their code is written, and towns are different. So they actually have a table that you use and you come up with your calculation. That's the required parking.
Right.
Required parking doesn't mean that's enough parking.
Understood.
And the required parking tends to be small. But the way the town looks at it is, well, this is all that's required, so that must be all we need. Well, that's not the case. Because I couldn't accommodate staff with that calculation that they come up with on a middle school for the minimum, it's a minimum required parking.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying, I know the town gave some grief on that one. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to explain
Yeah, no,
their
where
position,
they're
how they're looking at it.
Gonna end up, yeah, I don't know.
Can I clarify something you said? We're doing a lot of the infrastructure that is required for both sides now.
Yes.
In this project.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. So does that mean that those costs that are currently in what I would assume is the similar budget for that elementary school, right, would include normal school ground up construction? So
Yes.
we should see a significant savings on that school now because we're
Correct.
doing the infrastructure today.
Correct. And I have asked Pogue to update that design based on current prices, and then we'll have to make some assumptions on percentages
Right.
and back out some of these costs to see what would the next school cost right now.
Okay.
And yes, I expect it will be less than the 43,944, whatever that was exactly.
So if we approve this GMP, we're waiting on some of the city site planning process and stuff to get it through. We're ready to break ground.
We're ready to go. As soon as if they approve it at P and Z and then council the next two meetings, and then as soon as we can get a permit.
If I recall correctly, we approved this procurement method at the same time we approved the stadium and the indoor, correct?
That's correct.
And so how are these two projects tracking?
How are these two projects tracking?
In terms of timing, yeah.
In terms of timing, right now, the middle school, we have ample time because it's not needed to open until August of '26, which, was not originally what we were looking at. So that has helped relieve some of the pressure on that. And on the stadium, I would say it's a very critical time schedule right now.
So are we, but I'm talking about in terms of the methods, I mean, are we all basically on the same basic time schedule? I mean, you were here at a GMP on the middle school. Are we in the same stage as we, at the stadium indoor? Or-
Like when
Yeah,
would
ready
we
to go
bring
out for
something to
bid
you for
or-
approval? Is that what
Yeah,
you're asking? Yes, we're very close. That project is scheduled to be out for bids, first ad on April the 9th, with bids due on May 7th. So we're looking to bring something to the May board for an approval on a contractor.
So we proved both of these procurement methods in December of '22, if I recall correctly.
That's
and-
right.
And here we are, and they're both kind of at the same
Yes.
stage.
Yes.
Ready to go.
Ready to
out
go.
for bid.
Yes.
Well, you're 60 days off. The
The stadium is a little behind.
because in
'Cause you-
CMAR, I mean, we do have the plans there and we're ready to go. But CSP, you have to get them done.
Design. You have to design.
Design has to be, what, 90% before you go out? Or higher?
Well, ideally, we call it 100%, but nothing is ever 100%. But
So you have to, that takes more time.
And originally, the goal was 25 for this middle school build, right?
Correct.
And now we've been able to push that back because of the slower growth.
yes, that's correct.
So just so we're all clear, if we vote yay tonight, we're gonna vote on 87.3 million. That's gonna be our max spend, our guaranteed max, basically spend on this. And with your management, with Pogue's management, and also with our involvement of BOC, we could potentially save money off of this.
Yes.
Is that what we're hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Is that what you guys?
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item 10B as presented.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Westrom, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hawksworth, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last item. Public item.
AISD Local brought to you last month for information. Go to the second page of it. So this was the GPA exemption. If students meet those criteria in the bullet points, they could be one course exempt from their GPA, their junior and senior year, which would go into effect for the class of 28, next year's incoming freshmen. We had some discussion last meeting about this. I did reach back out to our legal counsel, who continued to recommend beginning this with incoming freshmen, because it just kind of prevents the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Well, I wish I would have done this, or it's not fair because I didn't know and I would have done something differently. So while it's not illegal per se to implement this with any given class, it prevents a lot of big hard feelings, that could happen because of decisions that were made differently, not knowing this would go into effect.
Let me say something there, though. And I hear legal's positioning that one or two people might complain, but by doing this, we're basically affecting hundreds of juniors and seniors that could have this opportunity next year.
Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, right? Because it's incoming freshmen.
Well, no, but only juniors and seniors have access to this
Oh, yeah,
program.
right.
Right.
And,
Yeah, I
and so
agree.
what we're saying is that
I'm
for
in
next
agreement.
year, well, you don't get access to this program, even though it's a brilliant idea, because our legal department says 4 years from now, someone might complain. And I just don't like that. And I think if we have that option to say, yes, we're gonna implement this and we're gonna implement it next year for our juniors who achieve a GPA of 100 or higher, who have all these things, then yes, they are eligible. That's my point on this.
Yeah, they're not saying it's illegal, they're just saying you're saving yourself a little bit of a headache
Yeah.
if somebody were to
I
complain.
got news. You're going to get a headache doing it this way too.
Well,
Just like you're hearing from him, you're going to get a headache either way. And I think in my opinion, the fair thing to do is to let these kids choose. They have to meet these requirements anyway. And we just heard it's not illegal.
But it's the it's when. Do you do it
And I
next
think
year?
you
Or
make
do
it
you do
available to juniors and seniors, so juniors and seniors next year can pick
As
it.
of next year. If they meet these criteria.
Yeah, they have to meet these
But
criteria.
when you say hundreds of kids, I mean, is it really going to open up the door to hundreds of kids next year that are with grades
Well, you think
above
about your
100?
junior class is gonna
I
be,
think that
what,
makes it
400?
even easier to do now. Because it's not, if it's not hundreds of kids and it's only the kids that meet these criteria, give them the option.
The junior class will be 450 people. You might guess 50 of them would meet these criteria. So yeah, we're talking about 50 and then another 50 in the senior class, is my guess. Maybe more.
I think so.
Huh?
I think so.
Oh, across the two or just one? Each
I
class?
kind of agree with you that if you start it
But still.
next year, you're starting it in the middle of something that, you know, when somebody could have made some decisions at freshman and sophomore year, could have made a difference here. So it's almost like they're getting an advantage, not that I don't want to give kids, you know, all that we can. But typically, when you go to college, or even high school, things start in your freshman year. It's like whatever year you enter high school, whatever catalog you're under, the year you enter college. And that's the one you have to follow. And even though things change after that, it's still you follow because you came in say, 2020. And even if kids came in after you in college, they follow the 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, and you don't have to do those new guidelines because you're guided by the one that you entered the college, the university with. And I think it's kind of the same here.
I suspect it's gonna.
It can work in reverse too. Like we did something in the past here where they changed the NHS, the National Honor Society GPA requirement midstream of a class, and they increased it. Well, they had to go back and amend that because you can't move the carrot when someone's a sophomore and they're going into their junior year. It can work negative, reverse the other way too.
I really suspect this won't have a huge impact on very many kids, because if it changes your GPA a tiny bit and you move from spot 25 to spot 24,
So
if it moves you from spot 3 to spot 1, that's a big difference, right? But there's only 3 kids in the top 3 positions. And so the kids who are, I mean, yes, if I was 23, would I be happy to be 22? Yes, but do I get something special for that? Not necessarily. You see my point that it's not going to have a tremendous impact on many kids when it comes to GPA, because it doesn't matter as much if you're outside the top few.
that makes sense, but help me understand the. I mean, this is all very positive. Whether you
Right,
do it
yes,
next year or
yeah.
you do it starting with income. I mean, it's all positive. But help me understand the complaint I'm worried about. That if we did it next year, who is this person and this parent? What are they going to be complaining about?
I dropped playing basketball because it wasn't counting. It was negatively affecting my GPA, and that's not fair. I would have stayed in basketball. Maybe I could have gotten a scholarship.
Well,
Well,
but
then
they
they
had already
can.
dropped it. And so,
But they dropped
So
it
now
this
they're
year
out of
and
it.
they're-
I don't know that
Like,
we're
but it would be
dealing
a
with- I don't think we're
junior. It
dealing
would be a
with that.
junior.
Yeah.
But
If you were gonna get a scholarship, you didn't drop it.
Okay, bad example.
I'm just saying.
well, it's
But I'm saying seriously though. But can't that kid, now that if we pass this, can't that kid go back into basketball?
yeah, it gives
Yeah,
them an
absolutely.
effect of basketball.
Absolutely, they can go.
That's
back
what I'm
to-
saying.
Yeah,
So I
so-
mean, it's like a positive thing. The kid, I'd say, well, that's why we just announced it, so you could go back into basketball, so that doesn't impact your GPA.
Yeah, is
So-
this going to cause more of a headache for
That's why I say you're gonna hear it from both
for
sides.
counselors and redoing courses for maybe a handful of people, or is this going to cause headache for parents saying, "Don't give me more options"?
I think our goal is just to make it as equitable as possible. That's the bottom line.
Well, and-
I'm having a hard time understanding.
So I've had
anyway.
3 kids, well, 2 kids graduate and 1 kid about to, right? And they and their friends have all played this GPA game that we're so adamant about here in Argyle, because we have it, and that's our GPA, and that's how
My
you're
kids aren't playing that game, but go ahead.
That's
So
how
help
you're
me.
positioned and everything
Yeah,
else.
He would take track all day.
There is a dedicated choice for these kids in that, do I need to take something that is a weighted, that could get up to 110 points? But that still means they have to get 100 in the class to get the 110 points. And there's some kids who are very smart and they're taking sports and band and different things, and they're almost guaranteed 100, which is a good thing, right? But they're offsetting that
counting against them.
because
Right.
it's counting against them because they could have had 10 extra points.
Yeah.
And so I love this. Is like, hey, we want everybody to be able to participate in these things, even the smart kids. And so then let's take this off the table, and you can basically take that off, so you won't be held accountable.
I'm just trying to figure out who's going to yell, who's going to
Right,
complain.
and that's my
about it.
point.
And
I don't think anybody's going to.
And that's where I'm trying to get help. Who
I
is that
think
person?
But
the-
this is
the
one of those
person who
things,
might
like, if your fear of getting yelled at is for what you feel is doing the right thing,
I
then
know.
go ahead and get yelled
I
at.
just want to hear, but I want to
just
hear
think
that.
common sense to me suggests
It's not
that
that.
you should
It's not. I failed to
offer it.
anticipate that person. Like, who is this person that's going to be complaining?
Or potentially somebody who has their GPA in their hand already, who was just issued it as a junior, and then we change this and maybe it changes their GPA. Or it
would only
changes their
change
class
it-
rank.
It would only change it for their senior year, right? Yeah, it might, it could
Might
change their class rank, because
rank.
other people who got, it's crazy to say, got penalized for the hundreds, now get to tick up a little bit. I mean,
Like, I
think
guess the
it's a good
scenario would be if
program.
it drops you out of the top 10.
It's a good program. I would just support doing it next year for the people who are eligible versus waiting, in effect, waiting
Yeah,
2 more years.
And I'm kind of with Richie, unless you told me that this is a specific problem that we're going to encounter, that there's going to be just people
Problems that they-
yeah, just
The other thing is,
What did you do?
don't
You
have
changed
to
course.
choose to do this.
No,
Just
no,
because you
no.
meet the qualifications, you don't have to go this route.
Yeah.
Like, you can continue to drop your basketball scholarship and
Yeah, that's
go
true.
to something that boosts your GPA.
That's true too. I mean, that is true. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Rarely.
That's on
good.
record.
Rarely, but
So kudos on this
So, yeah,
policy.
I think it's a great
Kudos
idea.
on the policy. I just I think we're restricting ourselves
So-
too much by
Does it
saying.
alter
Go
it?
ahead. Yeah, we can amend it.
So,
I'll-
I'm willing to.
I'll entertain a motion with an amended year.
So
if that's what you're wanting to
If you
do.
offer it next year, who, seniors can take advantage of it, juniors?
Juniors and
Juniors and
next year.
seniors next year.
Okay, then what happens the following year? In other
Juniors
words, we
and
keep it
seniors.
and everybody that's been in school gets to keep
always
that?
It's always juniors
It's
and
always
seniors.
juniors.
It's always juniors and
Just
seniors,
juniors
but
and
not
seniors.
retroactive.
so really, what you're allowing is seniors next year, juniors, and sophomores.
No, not
No,
so.
not
No, but I mean, but they wouldn't.
The incoming juniors.
They wouldn't
It would
ever be
impact-
able to
Yeah,
allow
yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
this if we adopt this. The sophomores this year would never. be.
Sophomores this year,
Nor
then
would
juniors
freshmen.
next year.
You're talking down
You're
the
talking
road.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not- You're
So
talking
by-
2 years.
I'm saying by making the change you're making, you're allowing freshmen, sophomores, and juniors.
Right
and
now.
everybody in the high school right now can take advantage of this.
Eventually.
When they
And if
become
you
juniors and
don't,
seniors.
When they
if you
become
don't,
juniors
if,
and seniors.
Not until they're juniors.
if you make the change that, yes, I know, if you make the change that he's recommending, everybody, including juniors and seniors next year, can take advantage of this, right?
Eventually.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
if we adopt this, the only people that can take
Yes.
advantage of it are 8th grade and below.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
There.
That is
That's,
correct.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
Kind of roundabout.
So make your
Well, but
first,
if y'all would have interrupted me, I was a lot shorter.
make your first motion.
I doubt that.
Make your first motion.
So it would be in,
So are
you're
you-
amending from class of 28 to class of 25.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Jordan, do
Yes,
you
sir.
see any major issues?
Like I said, I think there'll be a few people that could be negatively affected because our class rank might change. However, and going back to what Mr. Slayton said, we'll probably hear a little bit of grief either way.
But you know what? This is all recorded, so we can share the recording with anybody that does have an issue, so they can hear the debate.
They could write hate mail to me.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, this is a positive thing.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
want,
no, it's-
we
that's what I
want
wanna get across.
as many
Yes.
kids as
Yes,
possible to be able to take advantage of this. And
Yes.
it's not to play the Deffenbaugh GPA shell game.
No.
Like,
Like
let-
Price is
people who
right.
did that.
I know, it's impressive that Caroline's doing so well with taking band.
Well,
Because
all our kids have done the
most
extracurriculars,
kids
and I'd
stop.
value that for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most kids stop.
I'm waiting, Mr. Western.
What's his motion?
Oh, yeah. I'll make the motion to approve EIC local revision
The end, right here. With the effective.
with the amendment that it's effective for juniors and seniors next year.
So the class
Class
of
of
Class of,
2025.
starting in class of 2025. Okay.
Second.
Mr. Devenbaugh with the motion to approve action item 10C with the amendment to begin with the class of 2025. Mr. Westrom with the second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The time is 7:58 p.m. We are adjourned.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
With no action items.
With no action items coming back, but for the public?